I have walked a long road to freedom. It has not been easy, and I have faltered along the way. But I have discovered that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. And so I have learned that the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. There were moments when the struggle seemed endless, when the weight of oppression pressed so heavily upon our shoulders that even the strongest among us bent. There were days in prison when the silence was louder than any voice, and hope felt like a distant dream. But even in the darkness we held on. Even when we were told we were nothing, we remembered we were the children of Africa, born with dignity and strength. To never give up is not to never feel pain. It is not to never face defeat. It is to choose, each time we are knocked down, to rise again with purpose. It is to look beyond the bars and chains and believe in a future that has not yet come into view. It is to know that change is possible, not because it is easy, but because we are willing to fight for it. I say to you, whether your struggle is on the grand stage of history or within the quiet battles of your own life, do not surrender. Do not allow the voices of doubt to drown out the voice of your heart. Every day you rise, you resist. Every breath you take in hope, you defy fear. Let your life be your message. Let it say to the world that no man or woman shall be broken by circumstance, that from the dust of despair courage will rise, and that even the longest night will yield to the dawn. Never, ever give up. True strength lies not in never experiencing failure, but in rising each time we fall. This truth has been lived by those who have endured the most brutal conditions and still emerged with dignity, courage, and a will to continue. Failure in itself is not a sign of weakness. It is a natural part of life, of struggle, and of growth. What defines a person's strength is how they respond to that failure, whether they choose to stay down, or whether they rise, learn, and push forward with greater determination. In times of hardship, it is tempting to believe that falling means defeat. Society often celebrates only success and overlooks the journey it takes to reach it. But every great achievement is born from moments of falling short, of making mistakes, of facing rejection, and of enduring pain. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not talent or luck, it is resilience. It is the decision, often made silently and alone, to keep going even when the road ahead is unclear and the body is weary. There is immense power in the act of getting back up. It is a quiet rebellion against hopelessness. When we fall and choose to rise again, we are saying to the world that our spirit is unbreakable. That no matter how many times we stumble, our desire to grow, to improve, and to reach our dreams is stronger than any force that seeks to stop us. This act of rising is not just about the physical, it is mental, emotional, and spiritual. It requires self-belief, even in moments of deep doubt. It requires remembering that setbacks are not permanent, and that we are capable of changing our circumstances. Many of the most inspiring leaders in history, including Nelson Mandela, himself did not achieve greatness without hardship. In fact, their greatness was forged through their struggles. Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He was separated from his family, his people, and his freedom. But what made him extraordinary was that he did not let that suffering destroy his spirit. He used it to grow wiser, more patient, and more determined. When he walked free, he did not walk with bitterness, but with purpose, a purpose rooted in the understanding that no prison could hold a mind committed to freedom and justice. Each of us has our own battles. We may not all face the scale of struggle that Mandela did, but the principle remains the same. Life will knock us down. We will fail, we will lose, and we will feel pain. But if we rise, if we choose not to give up, we embody the very essence of strength. And in that, we honor those who came before us, who taught us that falling is not the end, but often the beginning. Perseverance is essential, even when the struggle feels endless and hope is distant. It is during the darkest hours that our commitment to keep moving forward is truly tested. When the challenges seem too great, when the nights stretch long with uncertainty, and when we feel like no progress is being made, perseverance becomes not just an action, but a choice to believe in something better, even when we cannot yet see it. There are times in life when the obstacles we face seem insurmountable. Injustice, poverty, illness, betrayal, loss, all of these can weigh down the human spirit. We begin to question whether the fight is worth it, whether our efforts make any difference. And yet, it is precisely in these moments that perseverance matters most. To persevere is not to deny that things are hard. It is to face difficulty with honesty and still move forward step by step. Nelson Mandela's life is a profound example of perseverance in the face of what many would have considered a hopeless struggle. When he began his activism against apartheid, the system of oppression in South Africa was deeply entrenched. For decades, he and his comrades were harassed, arrested, and silenced. The regime wanted them to give up, to accept that change was impossible. But Mandela understood that real transformation does not happen overnight. He once said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." That belief sustained him through trials and prison, through the isolation of Robben Island, and through the uncertainty of whether he would ever be free again. Perseverance is not always loud. It is not always grand. Often it is quiet and patient. It is the mother who wakes each morning to provide for her children despite having little. It is the student who studies by candlelight, determined to rise above the conditions they were born into. It is the worker who continues to push for fair treatment, even when every door seems closed. Each act of endurance, no matter how small, is a defiance of despair and a declaration of hope. There is no timeline for progress. Sometimes the road stretches far beyond what we expected, but perseverance teaches us that worth does not lie in how fast we reach our destination. It lies in our refusal to turn back. Every day we continue, even when exhausted, we build the strength that carries us forward. Every step, even the smallest one, brings us closer to the breakthrough we seek. Hope may flicker, but it never truly dies if we keep feeding it with effort, belief, and action. When we persevere, we become the living proof that endurance can outlast injustice, that faith can outlast fear, and that the human spirit, when rooted in purpose, can withstand even the longest, most difficult of journeys. Pain and setbacks are part of the journey, but they do not define the outcome. Life is filled with moments that test our limits. At times, it may feel like we are being swallowed by the weight of these challenges. Pain, in all its forms, physical, emotional, mental, is an inevitable part of being human. We cannot escape it, nor can we avoid the setbacks that come with pursuing our goals. But the key to overcoming these difficulties lies not in avoiding them, but in understanding that they do not define who we are or determine our future. Pain often has a way of making us feel like we are broken, like we are somehow unworthy or incapable. It tricks us into believing that failure is final, that we are doomed to remain in our current state. But pain is not a verdict, it is a process. It is the fire through which we must pass to emerge stronger. In the moments of pain, we have the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to discover inner reserves of strength we may not have known existed. Our setbacks, though painful, do not dictate our destiny. It is how we respond to them that shapes our future. Nelson Mandela's life provides a powerful testament to this truth. He endured incredible hardship throughout his 27 years in prison. In the early years, the conditions were harsh. The physical pain he suffered was unimaginable, but it was the emotional and mental strain that threatened to break him. Yet Mandela never allowed the pain of his imprisonment to define his identity or his mission. He never allowed the setbacks to determine his ultimate goal of freedom and justice for his people. Instead, he embraced the pain as part of the struggle, not as the end of it. He understood that his suffering was not in vain, and that the cause for which he fought was greater than the temporary discomfort he faced. In our own lives, pain and setbacks often come in the form of rejection, failure, loss, or disappointment. These moments can feel like walls that block our progress, making it seem like we'll never reach the place we desire. But if we view these experiences as part of the journey, as stepping stones toward growth, we can transform them into powerful catalysts for change. Setbacks can become the very lessons that refine us, pushing us to work harder, to be more creative, and to dig deeper into our resolve. Pain can fuel the fire of ambition, and setbacks can teach us resilience. It is essential to remember that the greatest growth often comes from the most difficult moments. When we face adversity, we are forced to confront our own vulnerabilities and limitations. We are pushed to reconsider our strategies, to rethink our approach, and to reconsider our attitudes toward failure. In doing so, we discover new ways to persevere, new strengths we didn't realize we had, and a deeper sense of purpose. What truly matters is not how many times we fall or how intense the pain may be, but whether we get back up. It is in the getting up, in the decision to keep moving forward despite the setbacks, that we redefine our future. The outcome of our lives is not determined by the pain we endure, but by our refusal to let it stop us from moving toward our purpose. The pain we face today is not a permanent sentence. It is a temporary challenge that can be overcome. Our setbacks are not failures. They are lessons that prepare us for what lies ahead. By embracing these experiences with the understanding that they do not define us, we gain the strength to continue on the path toward our goals. And in doing so, we prove that pain, however great, is not the end of the story but merely a part of the journey. Faith in a better future is a form of resistance, especially in the face of oppression. When the world around us is dark, when the systems in place seem impossible to challenge, and when the weight of adversity presses heavily upon us, faith can be the only thing that keeps us moving forward. Faith in this context is not about blind optimism or expecting things to get better without effort. It is about the conviction that change is possible, even when it seems unlikely. It is about holding onto a vision of a better future and refusing to let the present circumstances define what is possible. Nelson Mandela's life was a testament to the power of faith in a better future. When he was imprisoned for his activism against apartheid, the regime sought to break his spirit, to make him doubt that freedom and equality could ever be realized in South Africa. The injustice was pervasive, the suffering widespread, and the forces against change appeared insurmountable. Yet Mandela held on to a deep belief that a better future was not only possible, but worth fighting for. It was this faith that allowed him to endure years of isolation, hardship, and deprivation in prison. His faith was not passive. It was a driving force, a source of strength that sustained him through the darkest moments of his life. Faith in a better future does not mean ignoring the current struggles or pretending that challenges do not exist. It means acknowledging the difficulty of the situation, but choosing to believe that there is a way out, that there is something better on the other side. It is a resistance against despair. When we face oppression, whether that oppression is societal, political, or personal, it can be easy to feel that the odds are too great, that the fight is futile. But faith in a better future is an act of defiance against that defeatist mindset. It is the refusal to accept the status quo and the belief that even the most entrenched systems can be changed. In the context of Mandela's life, apartheid seemed like an unbreakable system, and the injustices were so deeply rooted that they seemed impossible to overcome. But Mandela's faith in a better future helped him to see beyond the brutality of the present. He believed that South Africa could be free, that the racial divisions could be healed, and that reconciliation and equality were possible. This faith gave him the strength to lead, to endure, and to make sacrifices that many would not have been able to bear. Faith in a better future is not limited to political struggles. It can apply to any area of life where we face adversity. It is the belief that we can overcome our personal challenges, whether they are related to health, relationships, or self-doubt. It is the conviction that our lives are not defined by the difficulties we face in the moment, but by our ability to rise above them. When we choose to believe in a better future, we are not surrendering to a utopian fantasy. We are acknowledging that the power to shape our destiny lies within us. It is a choice to refuse to be defeated by the circumstances and to continue striving for something greater, something more. Faith in a better future is also about seeing potential in the present, even when that potential is not immediately apparent. It is about looking at the challenges we face and seeing them not as insurmountable walls, but as opportunities for growth and transformation. When we have faith, we begin to see possibility where others see limitation. We become willing to invest in the work that is necessary for change, even when the path is long and the rewards seem distant. Ultimately, faith in a better future is what fuels resilience. It is what gives us the strength to continue when the world tells us to stop. It is the hope that sustains us through the hardest moments, reminding us that even in the darkest times, there is always a possibility for light. By holding on to this faith, we resist the forces of despair and defeat, and we empower ourselves to create the change we wish to see. Just as Mandela's faith in a better future led him to become a symbol of hope for millions, our faith can lead us to overcome the obstacles in our own lives and contribute to making the world a better place for all. Every act of persistence is an act of defiance against fear and doubt. In moments of adversity, it's easy to become consumed by fear. The fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood or judged, and sometimes even the fear of success. Doubt creeps in and whispers that we're not good enough, that our dreams are too big, or that we're too small to make a difference. Fear and doubt are universal. No one is immune. But every time we choose to persist in spite of these fears, we are making a conscious decision to challenge them. We are pushing back against the negative voices in our heads and the discouraging forces around us. Persistence is not just about working hard. It's about rejecting the paralyzing grip of fear and doubt and moving forward regardless of the uncertainty we face. Fear can be one of the most powerful obstacles in our path. It can keep us locked in place, afraid to take that first step, afraid to make that leap into the unknown. Doubt has a similar effect. It clouds our judgment, makes us question our abilities, and convinces us to second, guess ourselves at every turn. These two forces, fear and doubt, can prevent us from realizing our potential, from living up to the fullest version of who we could be. But persistence, when fueled by a belief in our own worth and in the value of our dreams, becomes the antidote to these forces. It is the act of showing up every day, even when the future feels uncertain, and continuing to take steps toward our goals, no matter how small those steps may seem. The act of persevering, despite fear and doubt, becomes a declaration: I will not be controlled by fear. I will not let doubt define my path. I will keep moving forward because I believe in what I'm doing, and I trust that it's worth the effort. Every time we choose to persist, we push fear a little further back. We prove to ourselves that we are capable, that we are stronger than the self-imposed limitations of doubt, and that we are willing to face whatever obstacles stand in our way. Consider the lives of those who have achieved great things despite overwhelming fear and doubt. Think of Nelson Mandela, who, despite enduring 27 years in prison, did not allow the oppressive apartheid system or the fear of never seeing freedom again to break his spirit. Instead, he persisted, not just for his own freedom, but for the freedom of his people. Every day he resisted the fear of failure and the doubts that might have told him that his struggle was in vain. He chose persistence over passivity, and in doing so, he became one of the most influential figures in history. The power of persistence is seen not just in grand moments, but in everyday acts of resilience. It's the single mother who wakes up every morning, day in and day out, to care for her children and work to provide for them, despite the exhaustion and the hardships. It's the entrepreneur who continues to push forward with their business idea, even after facing rejection and countless failures. It's the athlete who, after losing a race or suffering an injury, laces up their shoes and gets back to training, knowing that success is not defined by a single setback. Each of these individuals, in their persistence, challenges the belief that fear and doubt should dictate the outcome. They resist the natural impulse to give up, and in doing so, they unlock their full potential. Persistence also plays a crucial role in transforming our failures into learning opportunities. Failure, when approached with persistence, is not something to fear. It is something to learn from. Every time we face a setback, persistence demands that we reflect, adjust, and try again. Instead of being defeated, we use failure as fuel, as information that tells us what does and doesn't work. This mindset allows us to grow stronger, smarter, and more capable with each challenge we face. The fear of failure dissipates when we realize that failure is not the end of the road, but merely a detour that teaches us how to get back on track. At its core, persistence is a refusal to be defined by fear. It is a refusal to let doubt steal our dreams and limit our potential. By continuing to move forward, despite the obstacles, we demonstrate an inner strength that transcends the fear we feel. Each small victory of persistence creates a ripple effect, not just in our own lives, but in each of these individuals, in their persistence, challenges the belief that fear and doubt should dictate the outcome. They resist the natural impulse to give up, and in doing so, they unlock their full potential. Persistence also plays a crucial role in transforming our failures into learning opportunities. Failure, when approached with persistence, is not something to fear. It is something to learn from. Every time we face a setback, persistence demands that we reflect, adjust, and try again. Instead of being defeated, we use failure as fuel, as information that tells us what does and doesn't work. This mindset allows us to grow stronger, smarter, and more capable with each challenge we face. The fear of failure dissipates when we realize that failure is not the end of the road, but merely a detour that teaches us how to get back on track. At its core, persistence is a refusal to be defined by fear. It is a refusal to let doubt steal our dreams and limit our potential. By continuing to move forward, despite the obstacles, we demonstrate an inner strength that transcends the fear we feel. Each small victory of persistence creates a ripple effect, not just in our own lives, but in each of these individuals, in their persistence, challenges the belief that fear and doubt should dictate the outcome. They resist the natural impulse to give up, and in doing so, they unlock their full potential. Persistence also plays a crucial role in transforming our failures into learning opportunities. Failure, when approached with persistence, is not something to fear. It is something to learn from. Every time we face a setback, persistence demands that we reflect, adjust, and try again. Instead of being defeated, we use failure as fuel, as information that tells us what does and doesn't work. This mindset allows us to grow stronger, smarter, and more capable with each challenge we face. The fear of failure dissipates when we realize that failure is not the end of the road, but merely a detour that teaches us how to get back on track. At its core, persistence is a refusal to be defined by fear. It is a refusal to let doubt steal our dreams and limit our potential. By continuing to move forward, despite the obstacles, we demonstrate an inner strength that transcends the fear we feel. Each small victory of persistence creates a ripple effect, not just in our own lives, but